How's it going, everyone? This is Kay. Here is a 1/8 scale Okada Izo figure by MegaHouse, and first thing I need to say is this is on the smaller scale of 1/8, so that may be a problem for some collectors when comparing to other 1/8 scale figures, but overall the quality is amazing, from the sculpting, the freaking painting, even though it's mostly dark colors. Painting is good, and just his pose in general. I mean, just look at the sculpting on the back. His clothing, as if the wind is blowing, and the wrinkles, the folds, everything about it looks so good, and the shading all around. Again, it may be a bit difficult to tell on camera because of the dark colors, but it's really impressive. First, let's talk about the face sculpt. It looks exactly like Okada Izo. I mean, it just looks perfect, from the smirk and the yellow eye coloring. Now, you do get a secondary scarf where it covers his mouth. I don't really recommend it because, I mean, that smirk is iconic for this character. I mean, I wouldn't really cover it, but it's up to you. Now, I'm not going to, for mine specifically, I don't know, the head attachment, the peg, it's a bit tight, so I'm not going to consistently remove it. I'm just going to keep it as is. I tried attempting to remove the head sculpt, not the head sculpt, but the head attachment piece second time to insert the scarf covering his mouth, but it's too tight, so I didn't want to break anything, especially when the hair pieces are so fragile. I mean, it's soft plastic, but you know, some of these spiked parts or these hairs, individual hair strands, could break off if you're not careful. Speaking about the hair sculpt, holy shit, do you see the amount of detail, especially towards the back? That looks insanely good. I forgot to mention, here's the instructions. This is all you're going to get. Like I mentioned already, you're going to have to remove the head in order to attach one of the scarves. Wouldn't recommend doing it too often because you could damage something, and as always, be careful of the hair strands. But the sword attachment, there's no instructions for it, but it's relatively easy. You just insert it into his hand. But talking about the sword, let me just fix this camera real quick. Sword looks really good, although I'm not sure about the shading on the blade itself. I always like a nice metallic silver or chrome coloring all on the blade, but I do appreciate the company adding a bit more detail, such as the shade on the tip and towards the middle. But I don't think it's really necessary. You may like it. I personally think it's okay, but it just looks a bit awkward seeing a blade like this. But the general sculpting is really good. The handle, beautifully sculpted. Now, I forgot the sculpting towards the back piece of the blade, or back portion of the blade. I forgot proper terminologies, but you could clearly see a line right here, sculpted line right here on the back. Again, I forgot about the terminology for a katana, but that's sculpted. That looks great. Again, it's just the shading. Not a fan of it, but it doesn't look bad whatsoever. Now, he does have a secondary what's a smaller, god damn it, I forgot terminologies again, but a smaller katana. It's not called a katana. Shoot, I forgot what it was called. It's basically their secondary bladed weapon if a samurai loses their katana. Again, I don't know what it's called, but that's sculpted really good as well. You can't take it out, sadly. Scabbard looks good. Nothing to complain about. Now, you're going to have to insert the scabbard into his hand. I think I chipped the paint a bit while inserting it, but his hands or his fingers specifically, is soft plastic. So the base is a bit boring, but I do appreciate it resembling the dirt or the ground better than a clear or a plain black base. So although it's not the most amazing looking base ever, I do like the detail, especially the painting and sculpting. As you can see, it does look like the ground, so that looks really good. But the size is a bit on the larger end, so it's going to take a lot of space. But I mean, he is in an action pose, a nice dynamic pose, but I feel like, I don't know, it's going to take up a lot of space on the shelf. Now let's talk about the painting. Painting is really good generally. I did mention that it's typically a lot of dark colors, but there are good shading all around his clothing. I mean, his scarf looks great as well. You can see some shading towards the middle end, and of course his clothing. I mean, just look at that. That looks great. You see some shadings or differentiation of colors around his pants towards the end right here as well. Lighter coloring, and again, the sculpt work just looks really damn good. I'm just impressed with this figure generally. So here's just a quick side-by-side comparison with a 1/8 scale Okita figure, fellow Manslayers, and like I said, the scaling is a bit off. I believe she's 1/8. I could be wrong, but I believe she's 1/8 by Good Smile Company, and as you see, the size of the characters don't match up. Again, this is more towards the smaller end. And finally, here's a 1/8 scale Tundra figure, a comparison between the two, and of course, the scaling is off again, even though they're both 1/8 scale figures. Tundra is just a kid, he's not supposed to be that huge in comparison to Okada Izo, especially in terms of body size and head size. So, there you go. Doesn't really look good next to each other. So my final thoughts on this figure, it's amazing, go get him. It is on the pricey side, and again, the size of the whole entire figure itself may be an issue for a lot of collectors, especially if you're paying over $200 for it. I think I paid $220 plus shipping, so quite a pricey figure, but if you have the disposable income, right, and of course if you're a huge fan of Fate Grand Order, The Servant, or Okada Izo as a character, then it's well worth it. But there's really no issue with this figure whatsoever. Everything looks great. Sculpting, painting, looks like him. Base may be a bit on the larger side, but if you can find space, or it's going to take up a lot of shelf space, but if you do have the space for it, it's definitely worth it. But there you go. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel. This is my secondary figure collecting / unboxing channel. This isn't obviously my main channel, so if you don't want to miss a figure unboxing or review, click that subscribe button, and I have a lot of figures that are finally coming in. Lots of Fate Grand Order figures, right? I ordered, I believe, the new Mordred by Good Smile, Canis, what else? Some Genshin Impact figures, and some Yu-Gi-Oh figures like the Egyptian Gods, which is coming out really soon. Also, some Final Fantasy VII Remake, Players Kai, and Nier figures as well. So lots to look forward to. As always, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.